A few weeks ago, I was on a trip on the outskirts of the city. This was one of those far flung areas where there's not a lot of cellular coverage. And of course, the internet stopped working, and so did the music in the car. Now, sure, it's not that big of a deal, but I have an active Spotify subscription, and I had downloaded music too. But for some reason, it decided it doesn't want to work for me. And this is not the only time, too. Man, it made me think about the time when you used to load up 400 tracks in a single DVD and never have to ever take it out from your car. Anyway, I have been a user of Spotify Premium for well over 3 years, and every single time I wanted to work offline, it almost never does. Some of you might tell me to change the settings in my phone or try looking it up on the internet, but if I don't complain about this, how else am I going to find the material to rant about in this video? Now, I know that I'm not even remotely close to being the first person to talk about something like this. But when you're even able to rent the clothes that you regularly wear, we are going to have a problem. Anyway, my entire experience with Spotify not working when you kind of want it to, always, made me think about the general lack of enthusiasm I'm beginning to develop towards the entire model of subscribing to something for a limited amount of time. Over the last 20 years, life has changed very much. Our parents, who had never thought about Facebook, now are suddenly sharing memes on WhatsApp. What is going on? Now, some of you might not agree, but I feel like the tech around us has peaked, and there's very little that's offered with everything new that's being introduced. The iPhone 3G introduced the internet. The next one introduced front facing cameras. The one after that introduced faster internet and the ability to FaceTime other people. The next ones got better with better touch, more interaction, and other stuff until now. And now the only difference between an iPhone 15 and 16 is a side button and a slight upgrade in the chips. What? Who cares about this stuff? And it's not just with iPhones. Everything else sort of feels like we have reached the peak of. 10 years ago, Adobe Photoshop and video editing tools introduced so many major developments that it felt right to pay whatever we were paying them at the time. Now, it sort of feels like there's not a lot to offer. Who's making these pictures, and most importantly, who's using them? And where? This feeling of stagnation is everywhere. Remember when AI was supposed to enhance creativity? Yeah, me neither. But AI right now is in everything that you never wanted it to be in. Your fridge now has AI, your TV has AI. Hell, even you can get an AI lawyer that will go to court for you. And don't get me started on AI generated content. Don't get me wrong, AI at the beginning was pretty cool. I liked how crazy it could become, and I liked when, it changed faces, shifted things. It seemed pretty funny. Now I feel like I'm on an acid trip every time and I just cannot leave. Everything pretty much feels very lazy right now. The apps, the updates, the content, it feels like we are getting spoon fed the same thing over and over again. I'm sorry, I'm getting too worked up over this. Let me distract myself and go to Instagram to watch some stolen TikToks. Or maybe go to YouTube and see the same videos in a bad resolution. Or even go to Twitter to still scroll the same stuff but in a more gore format. So you're telling me that social media peaked too because no matter what app you use now, it has its own version of short video feed that contributes absolutely nothing to my life? Yeah, that makes sense. I wanted to order some clothes online, and there's this website which I use, which honestly makes some pretty good clothes. But last week, they suddenly took down their main website and forced me to download an app. Now, being the ideal consumer for these conglomerates that I am, I didn't question it once and downloaded it right away. And sure, it worked like every other clothing app would work for you until. Wait, is that a dedicated video feed in the middle of the app? Are they trying to sell me something on every scroll that I'm making? Who came up with this idea? One of the best ways to measure the counterproduction of something is to see how big the counterproductive market really is. Just in case you were curious, there are about 2000 productivity apps on the App Store alone. Apps that are designed specifically to help you stay off your phone. 30 years ago, video games looked like this. 10 years later, they look like this. 5 years later, they look like this. And now, they look like this. So you're telling me that the difference between the newest graphics card versus the one before that is that my frame rate is slightly better and that I can see a little better video quality? Here's my money. Take my money right now. I know we have come a long way since the beginning, but believe me that we are just leveling off right now. That's it. Every time a new piece of tech is dropped, the prices are so ridiculous and yet the benefits are not even tangible for most consumers. What's the point after all? And to tackle this, people are going back to old ways of life. Books right now are making a return on shelves, DVDs and music players are coming back in style, and people are going back to dumb phones. Maybe some part of this is nostalgia, but maybe a large part of this is also how predatory the new life and the culture that was promised to us has become. Back then, you used to have a physical DVD that you could plug in at any time for as many times as you want. And now, even if your subscription ends for a day, your entire playlist is snatched for you, like you committed a crime for forgetting to pay for a subscription. Most times, you have been paying for a subscription for multiple years, and as soon as you run out, you have nothing to show for it. One of the biggest downsides to these subscriptions is that you're literally paying for something that you will never own. Every payment that you're making is that something is being handed to you for a limited amount of time. As soon as you stop paying, it will be taken away from you. And most importantly, who's to say that when you buy something, it's going to last? Smartphone companies have been caught so many times and fined so many times only because of how they deliberately slow down their phones with updates, only that you would purchase the newest one. I swear iPhones are getting so predatory that they either think that we are stupid or they just don't care anymore. Apart from the new useless button that they put on their iPhone 16 Pro, which by the way nobody even asked for, the only difference between an iPhone 15 Pro and an iPhone 16 Pro is that the 16 has an A18 Pro chip while the 15 has an A17 Pro chip. Are you keeping up? If you don't get what this means, don't worry, you don't have to. It makes no difference to how you use your phone, believe me. A lot of tech devices now are more affordable, but at the same time, they're also more disposable. The real truth is that technology right now is doing exactly opposite of what it was intended to do. Most of your time on Instagram is not even in your hands. You are fed an algorithm that Mark Zuckerberg has personally made for you. Everything is so uninteresting to me that I don't even know what to do with my phone anymore, but find excuses to rant about things and leave questioning myself and my accomplishments.
It's a flip phone. What does your flip phone do? It texts, not easily, voice calls, it has a camera, the camera's terrible.
Still, John Tomlinson is perfectly happy with his 2017 flip phone because he just doesn't want to be connected all the time.
You know, you see people walking around with smartphones and they're looking at their smartphones. I know if I had a smartphone, I'd be staring at it all the time. And I don't think that's good.
And it makes sense why people are going to the times when tech was actually exciting and not everything was so predatory as it is now. Streaming once was considered the pinnacle of life, and now people are going back to DVDs. And why shouldn't they? You're telling me to watch a title that I have to subscribe to one platform and to watch another title which is probably vaguely similar, I have to purchase one more subscription? I cannot keep up with all of this, and I'm sure you cannot either. Now, obviously, I do not want to rant without being thankful about certain things because, there are pros and cons to everything. To end the video, I'm also thankful for a few things that technology has given us. Number one is colored lights. Anytime I'm in deep work and want to dim the lights to a different color, this stuff always works. I love it. It's also great to impress the internet thinking that you've got a good taste. Number two is AirPods. I like that I don't have to deal with wires because wires are a conspiracy from the government to keep us more controlled. Number three are good YouTubers who make 10-hour rain sounds without ads so that I can sleep on scorching summer nights thinking that it's raining outside. That's it. That's all the tech I need in my life. And if you take the rest away, I won't complain. See you next time. I'll go back to watching Instagram Reels and probably buying 100 other subscriptions that I'm never going to use again.